Guys, welcome to another episode of Frame by Frame, Voices of Cinema. I'm your host, Gerald Pagdato, and I'm very excited for today's guest. This video podcast is all about diving into the heart of indie filmmaking, celebrating the creativity and determination that drive the cinema world, especially here in Alberta. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Martin Cochingco, a talented stunt performer, action designer, and filmmaker. Martin's journey into the world of stunts started from his roots as a professional dancer and acrobat, and he has since made significant strides in the film industry. He has worked on some major projects, including Deadpool and Wolverine, and much, much more. In this episode, we'll dive deep into Martin's career, exploring his creative process, industry experiences, and the challenges and triumphs he's faced along the way. So whether you're a film enthusiast, an aspiring stunt performer, or just curious about the behind the scenes of action of filmmaking, you won't want to miss today's episode. So sit back and relax as we go frame by frame with Martin on Frame by Frame, Voices of Cinema. Martin, I'm so excited to be sitting down here with you today. Thank you for joining and
thank you for having me. This is great. Thank you.
Let's just dive right into it. Tell me about your upbringing, growing up, kind of what your parents were like. And
I see. Okay, great. Yeah. So I was born and raised here in Edmonton, Alberta, first generation immigrant family from the Philippines. My parents actually grew up in Edmonton, so they went to Francis Xavier High School and Archbishop MacDonald. And I was the first kid born in Canada from my mom's side and my dad's side, actually. Oh no, I lied. I'm the second from my mom's side. On my dad's side, I'm the first one. But growing up, I was just a regular Canadian kid. Growing up in Edmonton, it's weird. I remember growing up, there wasn't very many Filipinos or Asians, actually. Mm-hmm. And then right around high school and junior high, all the Filipinos came, all the Asians came. So it was a little bit different. So it's, I grew up with family friends, older cousins that look like, I don't want to say we like Dragon Ball, we like cars, we like martial arts movies, early anime, like Akira and all that stuff. So it was pretty typical Asian kid upbringing. But the thing that really sets it apart was my auntie, my ninang, so godmother, she actually ran Kerala Dance Society for a very, she still runs it, actually.
Oh, really?
So I've been dancing since I could walk, and it really did help my performance growing up. I hated it growing up. But now that I think about it, I think it really helped bring me out my shell, being comfortable on stage and the opportunities that's actually given me. So from martial arts, it was acrobatics and then breakdancing for a long time too. And I think that transitioned well from Filipino folk dancing actually to breakdancing, and then the different martial arts led me into a sport called tricking, which is a combination of a bunch of stuff. So it's kicks, flips, twists, all that whatnot that I actually took competitively, professionally later on in life, which then actually led me to stunts.
Cool, man. So
yeah.
I never heard of that before. Yeah. A sport called tricking.
Yeah, it's called tricking. Yeah.
So there's actual competitions here? Oh, there is,
yeah. So it actually was made in the early to late 90s. Have you ever seen the North American sport karate circuits?
Yeah.
NASCA. So you know how they're always so in those circuits back in the 90s, they actually had a rule where you can only do one or two tricks. So like a backflip, like a big kick, that has multiple spins. And it's derived from the early 90s Olympic Taekwondo, where the more spins you do before you land a kick, the more points you get.
Oh, I see.
So it was things like that. From there, the guys that would compete in the NASCA circuit ended up going to the side and they threw tricks, what would be classified as tricks in the NASCA circuit.
Yeah.
That grew into tricking. So that's where the name tricking came from. It's because it's what was classified as a trick. And then they just ended up chaining more and more and more tricks together, and it's evolved.
Wow.
So it evolved alongside parkour. The difference is with parkour, you had obstacles, and tricking, you just have a flat floor. And man, nowadays, you look at the kids nowadays, and they're throwing 3-4 twists off one leg and a backflip, and it's insane. a big reason why tricking is so different from gymnastics is because gymnastics, you have to be on an axis. So you have to be, straight on an axis.
Yeah.
But with tricking, you're off axis.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was, still a young sport in my opinion, but there's definitely a lot of competitions going on nowadays on it too.
Is the floor kind of like the gymnast floor as well too?
Yes. Or it's like a tatami mat.
Gotcha.
So it's bouncy.
Yeah.
Or just soft. But there's some circuits around the world, like in Israel.
Yeah.
They actually have the Holy Land Gathering, which is on sand, which is kind of like, it's crazy to me. In Spain, they have one that's on a beach as well. Netherlands, they'll have it on grass. So
That's kind of, I wonder if that is harder because you don't have that extra bounce and it's absorbing the impact as well too.
I like how you bring that up because it's actually easier to launch off of because you have more resistance with you.
Yeah,
but
true,
it's harder
I
at
see.
landing.
Yeah.
Where the opposite is true. It's harder to launch off of sprung floor, but it's easier to land.
Gotcha.
It really just depends. That's why the competitions are so interesting.
Okay, so walk me through your breakdancing. You're a b-boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still am actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. Lee, where do I start? I think it was 2006, 2007. America's Best Dance Crew.
Oh, nice.
Super inspired by it.
Yeah.
And I was actually already started tricking at this point. But I wanted to transition into something because there wasn't a very big tricking scene in Edmonton at all. There was zero.
Yeah.
But I ended up coming across name Sean Arcetta.
Sean.
Yeah, his name is b-boy name is Farush.
Okay.
It was a video that he made back at old Ortona Gymnastics in Southside Edmonton. And at the time it was, it's YouTube, but I ended up messaging him on YouTube. And I was like, hey man, where do you practice? I saw you from Edmonton, all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, come see me at Stadium, like the old Stadium's Commonwealth Center.
Yeah.
And that's how I got introduced to breakdancing, to b-boying. From there, it was, oh man, it's a whirlwind. But yeah, it was from high school, like my young adulthood until still now, actually, that I made a lot of friends all across the world.
That's awesome.
Competed.
Yeah.
I think that the one thing I took away from it though was the friends that I made and the connections that I made and just the genuine friendships that you make from breaking. So
very tight knit community and very small community.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I remember doing a competition in New York City in 2014, and my Airbnb at the time was in Brooklyn, but I ended up going to Harrington Park in New Jersey, which it's like a 3-hour bus ride away, but I ended up going just because I want to battle there. So I battled there. I made some friends there, and then lo and behold, there was no bus back. So I messaged one of the dudes on Facebook because I added him on Facebook earlier that day because Instagram wasn't super popular yet. And he was like, "Oh, you're still there? Let me pick you up." So they picked me up. I stayed at their house in New Jersey. I woke up to his mom making Korean barbecue, and they dropped me back off in Brooklyn the next day.
Dang.
It's a crazy community. It's the same thing when I was in Japan.
Yeah.
Like I ended up staying at a friend's house in Osaka, and I was like, yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. I don't have a place to stay. I'm going back to Tokyo. And he was like, oh, here, come stay at my place and stay as long as you want.
Well, that's pretty sweet, man.
Same thing in Brisbane, same thing in Atlanta, same thing in LA. It's a nice, tight-knit community. And then whenever their friends come up here to Canada, I try to offer them the same hospitality that they gave me.
So you started off as a professional dancer, and walk me through how you made that transition from dancing to breaking to tricking.
Yeah, tricking, yeah.
To tricking, and then all of a sudden now you're doing stunts for movies.
Oh boy, yeah. So with breaking and tricking, actually, it's taken me all around the world for different competitions. So freestyle session in LA, you have Outbreak in Miami, R16 in Korea, so on and so forth. Not saying that I was part of like the high level of that, but I was there supporting my friends, and doing the local ciphers. But the cool thing is that I was training in LA at the time. And we were just there, because I like visiting different gyms to see different communities. And one of the people there asked me if I was available for a movie. I said yes, but because I wasn't American, I couldn't do it because I needed a social security number. So then I kind of asked him, I was like, okay, so where do I go from here? So he told me reach out to stunt coordinators in Canada and do it from there. So that was one of the first times I actually got, how do I say this, introduced to it, because I didn't think it was a viable career path. I thought stunt performing was always like, Tony Jaa, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, So I thought to be an actor too. Turns out you don't. Well, you do, but like there's an easier way to get into that other than just acting. So reached out to some of the coordinators up here, and then they said I needed a demo reel. I was like, okay, so how do I make a demo reel?
Yeah.
And then I actually ended up talking to a lot of people kind of in the film industry, and they told me that I needed to learn camera awareness and do all this stuff. So, camera awareness, how to read, how to sell a hit, how to give a hit.
Yeah.
Camera awareness, I'm going to say that again, it's just really, really important, is where the cameras are without actually like looking at it, right?
Yeah.
So from there, we ended up just making short social media videos to practice. And then weirdly enough, one of those social media videos got a stupid amount of traction on Reddit.
On Reddit?
Yeah.
So you posted it on Reddit?
Posted it on Reddit, got a stupid amount of traction on Reddit. And then we just ended up doing more.
Yeah.
And then we ended up just doing short skits. It was like TikTok before TikTok. It was like in between Vine and TikTok.
Yeah.
It was stuff that we were posting that we should have posted on Vine, but Vine was dead.
Yeah.
But so we posted on Instagram and Reddit, and then parts on TikTok. So what they were, what the concept was actually was, there's a video game called For Honor, and it's based off samurais, knights, and Vikings.
Okay.
They're all fighting each other.
Yeah.
But you can do these things called executions. And when you do like an execution, the camera swings around and it shows like it's a fully cinematic execution, short, maybe 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So myself, my close friends, Darren Taw and Jonathan Nickerson at the time, we made it an exercise for us that one of us would receive the hit, one of us would sell the hit, the other one would be on camera, and we'd rotate behind that. We did that, and then we filmed it, we edited it, add sound effects, and then we posted it on Reddit. That blew up. People wanted more.
Yeah.
Great. We did another one. And then we're playing Super Smash Bros. One day. And have you played Super Smash Bros?
Yeah.
You know Captain Falcon?
Yeah.
So Captain Falcon actually does a kick called a 540 kick in tricking. So I was like, oh, it's a 540 kick. So I ended up doing the same thing. I did a 540 kick with the same camera angles. There's another character named Bayonetta that did windmills.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can do that. So we did the same thing. It was just a practice of the camera, swinging the camera. I think Sonic the Hedgehog did a flare to a backflip. Did the same thing, and then
so you were just replicating the video games,
yep.
the moves.
Yeah, and it was just replicating to see if I could look at the thing and see if I could do it myself.
Yeah.
And have the camera do it. But it was also a test of me editing. So I was also practicing how to edit on the side and do sound design on the side because there's no sound to it.
Yeah.
And then I posted that on Reddit. That blew up.
Wow.
Like straight blew up. It was on like Kotaku, it was games.com, and ended up going to Japan for a Japanese game show. Nintendo ended up sending me a Switch. The creator of Super Smash Bros. Ended up shouting me out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was insane. And we did more and more of that kind of stuff. And that went super, super viral. I think on Twitter, sorry, X, it went to like 10 million views or whatever, and it's back and forth. And then we just kept doing things like that. But it ended up evolving from straight replicating things to putting our own twist on stuff. So we were talking about the Airbender video that you saw years ago. That was our own take on that. It was just a bending scroll and us trying to put our own little like twist to it.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going up and up and up and up.
So social media has really played an important factor, kind of in the trajectory of your to where you're at right now. I guess for individuals, for individuals who are listening to the show, I guess what advice would you give them to kind of get started on that?
Just shoot. Just keep shooting. I think the biggest thing that social media really did for me personally was it made me less attached to the projects that I shot. So I just kept shooting. Whatever ideas I had, I just kept shooting. Nothing was ever perfect.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't ever perfect, it was perfect. And it gave me the confidence to keep putting out my stuff and gave me the confidence to keep honing my craft while at the same time, seeing people, like the people around me, seeing my growth.
Yeah.
And it really brought me out of my shell. So now I'm not really afraid to post anything if I think it's good, or I'll just tell people to just keep shooting.
Yeah.
And to that, and like, I'm not just a stunt performer in the industry now. I also do a lot of what's called pre-visuals. So the pre-visuals are, I'll shoot the scene to make it, to send to the producer. So I'll edit, sound design, shoot the scene, basic VFX. And I've got on a job just shooting because of that. Action design's the exact same thing. Now I can look at any piece of media, whether it's from video games, anime, or even like a different pre-visual or like a different like established like story. And I can look at that and be like, oh, I know what we want to take from that. I know how we can inspire ourselves from it. I know what camera angles we can inspire ourselves from it. Anime and video games are great for that because the camera disappears into the person sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I've gone super inspired in seeing how I can replicate that and the editing behind that. So I would say shoot. Just keep shooting. Don't, post your stuff. Like, please post your art. Yeah. That's what it is. Post everything.
No, right on. And I think a lot of people out there just, you just reinforce the message because a lot of people get stuck in their head. And I know I'm one of those individuals. But, there's always an excuse. There's always something, that's not right, or they're seeking perfection. And I think the more that they hear it from people like you, especially, the more that they'll, get rid of that mindset and just, I just gotta do it.
And I think if you look back at how social media was back in the mid 2010s, it wasn't very corporate yet.
Yeah.
Not everything was a business yet.
Yeah.
So like Instagram especially was people just sharing their pictures, sharing their videos. Facebook at the time was just sharing your stuff. YouTube, golden age of YouTube, was just literally sharing your stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe because I grew up in that time, I do miss it because it felt more genuine. Nowadays, people are posting like influencer was like kind of a job then, but now everyone's an influencer.
Yeah.
Good on you for doing that. But it's just, to me, when I'm watching someone's video and I see someone super passionate about it, and then I see an ad midway through that you're promoting, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like get that bag. I get it. But at the same time, you're like, what would it, if you never had to worry about money, what would this video look like?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? What would your content look like if you never had to worry about money? Now, a lot of people are worried if they're not going to get enough views because social media is like, oh, well, now we're not going to pay you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hopped out of that world because now I'm in a very well paying career. Yeah. But like, I get it. I just post.
Yeah, no,
just post,
for
just
sure.
Share. Yeah, that's all it is.
So you mentioned something earlier. You said pre-design.
Pre-visuals.
Pre-visuals.
Yep.
Can you explain for the viewers or people listening what pre-visuals are?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I should have explained that. Sorry. So pre-visual is when you get a script, and on the script it says, this is specific for action. There's pre-visuals for other things, but it's basically a storyboard. But when you have a script, the script will call for a fight scene. It'll just be like 2 pages, like fight. And then they'll have story beats like knife gets taken out, this person gets hit here, blah, 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 blah. Our job as a stunt team is to find the style of the director that they want and film that fight. So we actually film the entire fight at our rehearsal spaces.
Oh, okay.
With wires, with all that stuff, with basic VFX as a placeholder. And then we send that actually over to the lead actors, the directors, and the producers to get approved. And once it gets approved, on the day of shooting, so on the day, we actually follow that previs to a T. That way we save a lot of time. And by saving time, you save a lot of money. So you always have something to fall back to because it was prior approved for a fight scene. So
for I'm curious. So for the pre-visuals, especially for the camera work, because the camera work is super important. The person operating the camera during the pre-vis, during the shoot, are they different people?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Because sometimes you can actually third party your previs to somewhere else. And I think the one thing that helped me with social media, like replicating certain like video games, is that I can actually look at a previs, find a team, put that together right away.
Gotcha.
So on the recent movie that we did with Michael Jai White, our good friend Stanton was actually the previs camera op and editor, and he ended up opping for the entire movie. So sometimes it works that way, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
It really just depends on where they are, kind of thing. Because sometimes I'm the one doing the previs, but I'm also performing.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Things do change. It's film. Things change all the time.
For sure.
But ideally, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So like, dance performer, breaking, social media, gone viral. Now, what was your first gig for like a film from that? Because what led to your first paying gig?
So that's a double-sided answer. So my first actual paying gig was a background performer. I was a background extra for, I think it was El Chicano.
Okay.
And it was a movie filmed out of Calgary. So that was my first ever in Canada.
Yeah.
I actually did work on some stuff in Japan. But the way that Japanese film works, it's different because they're non-union. So it's kind of like an indie film.
Yeah.
Like technically it paid me. But my first real like career step was actually on Winona Earp season 3. And that was in Calgary, and that was my first ever union job.
Gotcha.
And most stunt performers, if not all stunt performers, are union based. And a big reason for that is because of safety.
Safety and
Definitely. Just being paid properly for what we do as a career. Because there's not a lot of us get killed on the job, but there's a high possibility for us to get really, really, really hurt.
Yeah.
So, my first real big step was, thanks to Guy Buse out in Calgary. He was the one that gave me my first shot. That was my first real paying stunt job. And that was me jumping down 10 feet off like a barn roof and masking up the lead actress. Nothing big, but it was it was fun.
But how did you get introduced? So like, did you reach out? Was there an application process?
No. So the thing about stunts is we don't go through auditions. It's all referral based. Referral based. So say that you wanted to get into stunts, right?
Yeah.
You would send out your demo reel, your resume, and your headshot to the stunt coordinator. The stunt coordinator then sees your stuff and says, does this person fit what I'm looking for right now? If the answer is yes, they then look at your demo reel to see your skill set. And they're like, okay, that's exactly what I want. And then they'll look at your references from previous jobs. If you don't have any references, then they'll look toward, and then it's up to them to give you a shot.
I see.
So thankfully, I actually did a stunt workshop for background, just a general stunt workshop 2 years prior to me meeting Guy Buse. That coordinator of that workshop, the person that ran it, Adrian Young, ended up referring me to Guy. And then Guy actually saw Adrian's name on my resume.
Yeah.
So then Guy called up Adrian. He's like, how's this Martin guy? Who is he? And Adrian said, yeah, he's great. Give him a shot. So Guy put me in a really low stakes position.
Yeah.
And from there on in, it was just, I did really well there. Adrian hired me for Black Summer season 2. I did really well there. I met some more stunt people there who ended up referring my name to other stunt coordinators. And it's just a
trickle effect.
I won't lie to you. It just went.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
I think it's pretty interesting because a lot of people I talk to really say it's really about networking.
It is 100%.
And a lot of people have a hard time networking. So how did you find, the stunt coordinator, contacts, or like, what was your process on finding these people? Hey, give me a shot, right? Like,
so, and this is public knowledge, but on the union websites, because most union gigs are public.
Yeah.
So on the Actura website, you can search up www.actura.ca, what's shooting. And then after that, you can pick which province you're in, and you can see what's shooting in each province. When I decided to move to BC back in 2019, I actually ended up going on that what's shooting page. And on there, it shows you the production name, the production office, the director, the background casting director, the main casting director, the stunt coordinator, and the Actura rep. So I saw the stunt coordinator's name, and then what I would do is I would go physically to this production office and ask him for the stunt coordinator's email, or if I can give my physical paper to the stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
And I did that. Unfortunately, that was 2019, right before COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
And then COVID hit, and everything just kind of it just went down. So, but that's how I did it. A lot of people won't do that because that's basically cold calling.
Yeah.
And when I was a dancer, I didn't pay much. So I was still working at TELUS. I was working at Scotiabank. So I was used to cold calling. So I didn't have any shame. At that point, I was like, this is what I'm doing for my life. I need to be okay with cold calling.
Yeah.
So but then the cool thing about stunt performers is that once you have 6 union credits, you actually get the chance to join a website called the Stunt List. And from the Stunt List, it has every stunt performer in Canada's contact information.
Yeah.
So then you can actually go and look at what's shooting, look at the name of the stunt coordinator, cross-reference that with stunt list, and then they'll give you the name, the phone number, the email to contact. And then you can actually use stunt list, be like, hey, Mr. Coordinator, Mrs. Coordinator, I'm on stunt list. I found your info through here. If you need any extra bodies for this day that you're shooting on this movie, here's my stuff.
Yeah.
If you get a reply, great. If you don't, you normally won't. But one day you'll get a text be like, hey, are you available this day? I need someone for this. So that's kind of how the industry works.
Gotcha. Oh, that's pretty interesting.
So yeah, it's nerve-wracking at first.
No, definitely. Yeah. Especially when you're cold emailing or cold calling, right? Like, and you don't hear back, a lot of people would just quit. Right. So when you started, well, you already had the experience and you were like viral on social already. Yeah.
That didn't really help me in terms of networking. It helped me more with my confidence. Because if I had a video that didn't do well, I'm like, oh, okay, it didn't do well. So if I had a coordinator that didn't call me back, I'm like, whatever, they didn't call me back.
Yeah.
I would say that's where it helped me more.
Gotcha.
Mindset.
Yeah. Okay. So how did Edmonton Stunt Garage start? and where did that fall into the timeline here?
So, all right. So we fell upwards and we continually fall upwards. I won't lie to you. So 2020, we lost our rehearsal space, like our training facility, because of COVID. Then we found out that if you're teaching online classes, you can, rehearse and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this. Yeah, whatever. But basically what we did was we ended up registering a business.
Okay.
So that we could teach classes, quote unquote, teach classes. And we put a dead phone on a tripod in the corner of the room so that just in case anybody comes in and be like, you're not supposed to be in here. We're recording for classes. Really what we were doing with the four of us was myself, Darren Taw, Jonathan Nickerson, and Aaron Delaney. We were just there practicing like stunts, just like tricking, breaking, our falls, our fight choreography, our camera work, just like what we were doing on social media.
Yeah.
But we were practicing it in the hopes that we could make our demo reels better to send it off to more coordinators so we can get more work.
Yeah.
That was our only goal, was to just train and hone our craft over COVID because no one could really train with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just had the phone on the side. So like if anybody was like, what are you guys doing? I was like, no, we're filming classes. See, here's a punch. Here's this. I don't know how, but some people found out about it. And then they're like, are you guys doing classes? And we're like, we couldn't say no.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, sure. Come train with us. And it just kept building and building from there. And I like to say it falls upwards because then when I got hired by Lauro Chartrand Duval in Vancouver, because I knew my team, like my friends, weren't super comfortable networking, but I knew I was.
Yeah,
we would network for each other. So I would tell Lauro, I told him, hey, did I do well today? He'd be like, yeah, you did great today. I'm like, thank you. I do have 3 other dudes back in Edmonton that are willing, like they can send you this stuff if you need extra bodies.
Yeah.
And Laura would be like, yeah, absolutely. Here's my email. Tell them to send me an email. And the 4 of us would do that for each other.
Awesome.
And then as time went on, different coordinators are like, oh, you guys have a team in Edmonton. Oh, you guys have then they'll look a little more into us. And they're like, oh, you guys have a training facility in Edmonton. But yeah, you're right. We do have a training facility, and they'd send more people to us.
Yeah.
And then from there on in, it was like video game, like EA contacted us.
Wow.
They'll have like different coordinators from across. And now like in the last year, I think we've had so many different coordinators and high level stunt performers, higher level than all of us that I respect so much, come to our gym. And it grew from there.
Wow.
To the point where it is what it is right now. We have like 30, 40 members now.
Yeah.
I won't even say members. People just train with us because like you train here, we hone your crafts and your skills here.
Yeah.
And then you fly away to go do your job and then you come back. So it's just, that's kind of how our gym works.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you have a school. I'm like, no, it's not a school. We're literally just a bunch of people training with each other in hopes of getting more work.
Yeah.
But it ended up becoming more than that because now we want to be a central spot so that we can help other people that want to get into the industry without the red tape, without all the gatekeepiness and all that stuff. So, and also become kind of a beacon of film through stunts, through stunts of like how high level we are now, so that we can help grow the industry here and kind of keep it in this area. So that's it started off pretty, I don't want to say innocently because I wasn't really innocent, but it started off pretty, simple. We just wanted a place to train.
I think you mentioned, fail up, not even fail upward, but fail upward, fail upward. And really, again, it's just putting yourself out there and then seeing where it goes and then adjusting, right?
That's literally what it was. That's been like that this entire, like the last 4 years. It's been just, oh, I fell. Oh, look at this. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. So you mentioned red tape, helping people get past that red tape. What are the red tapes that you think are in place right now?
All right. So I'm going to talk about stunts in particular.
Yeah.
So each region in Canada and each region around the world actually has their own community. But the reason why it's so hard to get into stunts is because you need to trust a person. And that's why it's all referral based. That's why it's all networking based.
Yeah.
You could send me a close friend of yours, for instance, and they could send me an awesome demo reel, an awesome resume, all that stuff. But I wouldn't trust that person yet because I haven't met them. I haven't trained with them. And it's just like anybody, like, you don't trust someone right away unless they have proper references. And I wouldn't say, let me rephrase that, not proper, but unless they have references that I trust. So if I see on that person's resume that they've worked with someone that I know and that I trust their opinion on, then I would go and talk to that person to see how, the person is. So because of that, a lot of the times in stunts is that you get a lot of coordinators' kids or coordinators, like stunt coordinators' kids or like close, like immediate friends and family. And because of how much stunts gets paid, and it's public on any websites. You can actually look on extra.ca, but right now, currently, stunts minimum gets paid at almost $1,000 a day. We get paid about $105 an hour.
Yeah.
That's not including danger pay. That's not including overtime. That's not including residuals. So there are some days that you can end out with like $2,500 days, work a full week, just do the math.
Yeah.
It's like 10 grand for the week.
Yeah.
So because of how much money is involved, a lot of, especially in Toronto, but like especially out east, a lot of people are trying to gatekeep that within their community.
I see.
And it sucks because I think it's like kind of a leech on our talent, because the more you gatekeep, the less talent that comes in. If someone could be hyper talented, but because you don't know them and you're afraid that they might take your job, then they kind of shuffle them out of the community. I hated that. The Western Canada is not really like that. Very good friend of mine, his name is Yusuf Ahmed. Okay, well, I guess, yeah. So the story of me meeting Yusuf was we were training at Jam in LA, which is kind of where I got my start as well. We were training at Jam in LA back in New Year's of 2019. So was it December 28th, around there? I was fighting with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I didn't want to go home. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going home. And then Yusuf actually needed a ride to somewhere an hour away.
An hour, okay.
Yeah, in LA.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh man, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need a ride. And I was like, I'll give you a ride. Yeah. He's like, are you sure it's an hour away? I didn't tell him that I was fighting with my ex-girlfriend. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I need to drive.
Yeah.
What I found out was that Yusuf was actually instrumental in the Vancouver and the Toronto stunt scene. And he was also a tricker. That's actually how we both connected.
Gotcha.
And he taught me everything I needed to know about stunts. How to hustle, who to hustle, how to make my demo reel better, how to make my resume better, what to practice, so on and so forth. His only condition was, if anyone asks me how to get into stunts, I would never gatekeep. And I've taken that with me personally to the rest of my friends and to the Stunt Garage. And like the Stunt Garage is honestly because of Yusuf.
Yeah.
That's when it changed from a bunch of dudes making demo reel footage to us actually
something bigger.
So I actually credit that to a lot of Yusuf.
No.
I'm actually texting him right now. But yeah, he's a great friend, great mentor, very, very good guy. I love the guy. So he came up here recently actually just to hang out, just to see everybody.
Yeah.
He's on his way to becoming a big time stunt coordinator as well. So proud of him. And I thank him. Like I always tell him, like, I thank you for like helping me out.
No, right on.
So yeah.
When you're on set or even during the planning or design stage for a fight scene, are you taking into account kind of the moves itself based on your capabilities or anyone's capabilities, really. So they don't injure themselves. Like, how do you draw that line?
Good question.
You know what I mean? Like,
Great question. We actually do, before everything is obviously we'll look at the demo reel.
Yeah.
We'll hire people that we know that can do this certain thing. So there's that. But then we also see how everybody's moving throughout warm up and rehearsal.
oh, so you're watching them already from the beginning.
I'm already watching from the beginning. Exactly. Yeah. So we're watching, like, okay, so I'll be like, hey, like, I know, for instance, I'll be like, hey, you're doing really, really, like, I know you can do this move, but I see you limping. What happened? People will be like, oh yeah, like I did this one day on set and kind of hurt. So like, I'm just taking it easy. I'm like, all right, take it easy, but I know you can do this on the day. So we'll just do it on the day.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've learned from film and from actually live performances is that the moves that you do look very different to an experienced person doing it versus to the general public. So take, for instance, a backflip.
Yeah.
Basic move, you do a backflip on the ground. You can do a backflip on the ground. You can do a palm flip, which is a backflip off the wall. You can do a wall flip, which is a backflip off the wall with your feet. And you can do, like, I don't know, like different variations of backflips. To the person looking at it that's experienced, like, oh, this one's harder than the other. To the general public, it's a backflip.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with like multiple rotations and kicks or multiple rotations.
Yeah.
You can do a 900 rotation kick. But to the regular person, it's just a twisty, spinny kick. So why do 3 when you can do 1 and it achieves the same effect?
Yeah.
So usually that's how we see it too. It's like, okay, well, I know you can do a double full or a triple full. In this script, we only need a single full. And I know you can do a single full.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we break it down as well.
That's interesting. I wouldn't. Well, I guess if you don't sit back and actually think about it, that just totally makes sense.
Yep.
You know.
and the question goes to is like, who are you making it for?
Yeah.
Are you making it for the people that are in the industry or like, sorry, in the sport that like appreciate the sport? Or are you making it for a general public?
Yeah.
So it really like just depends. Are you making for yourself? And if you're making for yourself, please by all means do whatever you want to do. But if you're doing it as a job, someone else's script and this is what they want, twisty spinny kick.
Yeah.
Why do 5 of them? One will do the trick. So
This might be a weird question, but I've always wondered it. So when you're rehearsing a fight scene or even like drafting or, you know, coming up with the fight scene, do you actually specify, or is it actually specified in the script, hey, it's gotta be karate, or does it have to be like a certain style? You know what I mean?
Sometimes.
So it does, hey? They do kind of specify that? Or when you're coming up with the fight scene, are you actually just, okay, punch kicks, let's rotate the camera?
I will say this, a good script will tell us.
Yeah.
A good script will tell us, and they tell us more than just what kind of style of fight it is. A good script will tell us, okay, it's been 5 days, this person's been on the run and they're tired, or this is their 6th fight of today. So make sure they're fighting like they're tired. So things are sloppy. Or this person's a superhero, or this person's a robot, this person's drunk, this person's, I don't know, like things like that. So a good script will tell us.
Yeah.
This is why we do pre-visuals, because sometimes the pre-visuals, like a director will be like, oh, I don't like that. I want more like this. I want it more tactical. And then you make it more tactical, or I want it more like John Wick. Like, okay, how do you want it more like John Wick? The lighting, like the camera movements.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's, yeah. So yeah, they do. They usually tell you ahead of time, where it's like before even the fight scene, you'll know the character and you'll read the script. So it's not just a fight scene that you read as a stunt coordinator, as an action designer. You read the whole script. That way you can kind of take in more of what this person is.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced while performing stunts on set?
Hunger.
Yeah. Hey, long days, eh?
Long days and hunger. I mean, they feed you, but sometimes when you're in a harness and like you're about to do a big stunt, but the thing is on set is that your stunt might not be, you don't know when your stunt is. You don't know when you're coming out.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, sure, you can do a backflip, but can you do a backflip 12 times in a row in the pouring rain at 4 a.m. in the morning on the 16th hour? You haven't slept and you're hungry.
Yeah.
Can you still do a backflip at that point? And your shoes are bad because costume sucks.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. It's less about your ability of being able to do a backflip. So I'd say those are probably the biggest challenges I'd face is, well, even before that, it's just getting into a set. That was a huge challenge in itself. But on set, yeah, for me, I'm usually hungry.
Yeah.
I'll have like some snacks, held somewhere.
All good.
Yeah.
All right. So you're highly involved in high action projects. How do you handle the pressure of delivering complex stunts and stuff that you guys come up with? And do you guys face like tight deadlines?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, walk us through that. Walk us through that.
Oh yeah. So for me, on the bigger projects, I am just a stunt performer, which means my job is to make this performance as best as possible. So for Shogun, for instance, for me, I was on a ratchet. So a ratchet is a pneumatic device that like goes and it like literally ratchets people back, right?
Yeah.
All I had to do was not get hurt.
Yeah.
So that was like, okay, I can do that. So that's the most pressure that I'll have on myself. Or if I'm fighting like an actor, make sure I don't punch the actor. I have a good performance. But recently, when I was fight coordinating, it's hard. You'll need to shove out a previs, and sometimes the previs doesn't work on the day because the director decides to change his mind at the last second.
Oh,
so then I'd go in, and then it's overcoming this challenge is just having a good team and making sure you're able to trust your team. So you can trust your stunt performers, you can trust your stunt coordinator, trust your fight choreographer, and all that stuff. So what we ended up doing on that day recently was the coordinator was on the day filming some of the stuff, and he told me and 3 other stunt performers to go come up with different options. So then while he was taking care of set, we'd be going to the rehearsal space, we'd make up options, and then we'd send them the videos of the options. And he'll tell us, I like this idea, work on it some more, or scratch all of them and make up some new ones. So then we'll send it to him on his phone. He'll show the director and like, is this what you want? Director says yes. And then we'll come back to set and stuff like that. It's insane.
Man, that's pretty tight.
It's super tight. Yeah. Sometimes it's on the day, but that's why, and this is for most producers, is that having the rehearsal time, enough rehearsal time to really hammer out these ideas is super important. That way we don't waste time on the day, kind of stuff like that. Because that wastes like 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Yeah. And as a stunt performer, if I'm going to pay $110 an hour, and then you have your cast getting paid more,
just sitting there,
and now that's a lot of money racking up. So Absolutely. Like you need to be able to give them enough. Like, sure, rehearsal days sound expensive, but they're way cheaper than
No, for sure.
Stuff in the day.
Are there any misconceptions about stunt performers in the industry that maybe you'd like to clarify?
Yeah, we don't always do flips and cool stuff. 90% of the time, we eat crap. I would say that is we eat a lot of crap.
Yeah.
People, like when I first got into the industry, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing all these flips, all these kicks, all these tricks. I'm stunt driving, I'm doing this. That's the glamorous stuff. Like your bread and butter is you getting hurt. And there's a difference between getting hurt and getting injured. When you get hurt, you get winded. You're like, oh, that kind of hurt.
I see.
Get like little bumps and bruises. Getting injured is different.
Yeah.
So we get hurt a lot. We don't get injured very often. So I'd say that's what it is more often than not.
Have you personally experienced any, accidents, like maybe a misstep and actually got hit in the face or?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I won't say the actor's name, but yeah, he tagged me in the face recently with his elbow.
Oh dang!
And it hurt, but I kept going.
Yeah.
So my nose wasn't bleeding, thank God. But he tagged the other person as well, and his nose was bleeding, so it was kind of funny. Yeah.
Well, good. Now, I've also, just with the recent advancement of AI and technology, and you can already see where I'm going with this. Yeah. What are your thoughts on, especially stunts?
So it depends on the industry that we're in, but I know for video games, I've had stories and. Let me just, okay, so this isn't me, but there's stories of people's contracts getting cut from motion capture because they would take the data from motion capture and then rejig it with AI.
Yeah.
That, I can understand that, but I actually think with AI in film, eventually it'll go back to, there'll be a period of time where everything's AI. Then people are like, I want real things again, and it'll go back to real things. The performance aspect will always be there. The coordination aspect will always be there, and the design aspect will always be there.
Yeah.
I can't tell you where exactly it's going to go, but I hope that we're able to use it more as a tool versus replacement.
Gotcha.
And this isn't the kind of like future I wanted. I wanted AI and machines to do all like the menial labor while everybody can do the creative things.
Yeah.
Right now it seems to be the opposite.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we'll see. I don't really have too much thoughts about that.
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? You can't really predict the future, but things do happen kind of like in a pendulum, right? Pendulum swing. And it's like, where's the momentum at right now?
Yeah, look at 3D.
Yeah.
Like how the whole 3D craze in the mid 2010s was going around, and now it's like more or less gone.
It's gone, yeah. I'm curious to see if, how, I guess, if we'll say the next 10 years, AI hits its peak, especially in motion graphics or movies or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Are you looking at, potentially pivoting into, somewhere in that realm and maybe...
Good question. I won't lie to you. I don't know. So for a long time, stunts was actually what I wanted to be in, and now I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I've always told myself, and my parents have actually told me that, like, always put 110% into it, because if you don't, you might have regrets. So now that I put 110% into this, it's not that I have regrets, but now I'm like thinking about other things I want to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like side quests. I just want to do side quests. And one thing that I really want to do is, my dad's always wanted to open up a restaurant, like a cafe or a bar. And I think now that I have the money and I have the career to be able to do that, I think I want to do that with him.
Yeah.
So, sure, if that happens, sure, the AI can do that, but I'll be working at a restaurant that we opened up with my dad. So, yeah, I'll be there.
That's all good, man.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. And if it's like, I'll still be doing all the stuff that I want to do. Like all the indie stuff will always be around. All the projects will be around.
For sure.
So,
So I know you have a team, and I just wanted to clarify. So what's your role at the Stunt Garage? Like, are you the owner? Are you CEO? Or is there, you have a team behind you? Kind of like, where do you fit in Stunt Garage as well as your teammates there? Are you guys all business partners?
Yeah, we're all business partners. On paper, I'm the owner.
Yeah.
So that's just on paper, I'm the owner. But it definitely doesn't run without the full community. I think the hardest part that we actually talked about recently is that we all have different roles. So for me, I am the person that networks for the team. I am the voice. I am like the face of it because I'm the most comfortable talking to other people. So, but we have people that do the logistics. We have people that do the cleaning, and we have people that help the community out. So that we're all a team on that sense. The issue that we've ran into recently is that we all want to be performers, which means we're always being called away to different projects in different cities. And we realize that if you're really going to grow the Stunt Garage, we need someone that doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
The problem is that everybody wants to do that. So it's hard. And that's why it's a training facility versus like we're a team for stunt people for sure. But in terms of like an actual like running business, the business side is secondary to what we want to do.
Gotcha.
So up until we find someone or someone wants to transition to just growing the community here, it'll be a little bit harder. Yeah. So my role, I don't know, marketing, kind of communications, I guess is what my role is. Yeah. So
that's pretty tough. Like, you're in the arts, you got this training facility, but your passion's in the actual art instead of actual business making. And I hear that a lot, especially like, for example, a plumber wants to get into business for himself. He starts a plumbing business, but all he knows is plumbing. And it's really hard for him to transition and trust, to hire other plumbers to do the work, right? Fulfill the client's duties or the customers, and actually build a business, because he kind of always goes back and forth. And I hear a lot of stories like that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's going to take us. And I actually thought that the Stunt Garage wouldn't be around after we all got into the industry and got our footing and be able to do that. I didn't think we'd be around, but we're still around. So, and I told the team, I think if I didn't want to be a performer, I would be the perfect candidate to grow the community, because I know I can. Yeah. The problem is that I don't.
Yeah.
So like I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. There's different avenues that I want to take. So, but I think when there's one of you trying to do that plumbing idea, it's hard. When there's 20 of you trying to do that plumbing idea and go back and forth with things, it makes it a bit easier, because people can pick up the slack back and forth. So
100%.
Yeah.
What's your process on picking projects to work on? And, like, there must be some kind of criteria that you choose.
For me, it's first thing, is it union? If it's a union, I get paid my regular rates, my union rates. And then second thing is, have I committed to any projects already? Gotcha. If I haven't committed to projects and it's union, I'll do it. Third thing is, is it in my wheelhouse? Mm-hmm. Now, thankfully, most union projects, they wouldn't hire me unless they wouldn't hire me if it wasn't in my wheelhouse. So on my resume, I'll say like, blah, 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 blah. Like for instance, I don't have like high level gymnastics. So no one's going to hire me for high level gymnastics. But if it's non-union, so like indie stuff, I'm at the point in my career is what's it going to do for me and what's it going to do for the community and who is it for? If it's for a dude in Winnipeg that I don't know, that's paying non-union rates and he just wants me, why do you want me?
I see.
Well, what is it about me that you want? Yeah. If it's in Edmonton and I've worked with people and be like, hey, we want to do this because we're trying to build Edmonton up, 100% I'll do it. Am I free? Yes. Or if I'm free, I'll do it. Yeah. Right? Is it for something I want to do? Like recently, there's some projects with a lot of Filipino performers, not just stunt performers in Canada, that we want to make a project in. And yeah, I'm down. Like, like what is it going to do for the community? What is it going to do for me? Yeah. So that's my criteria. I can't talk for everybody on the team because everybody has their own criteria. There are different stages in their careers. But that's where I'm at.
Are there any dream projects or collaborations that you kind of like, oh, I wish I was going to be collaborating with this dude or that person or this director? Have you
I won't lie to you, I've kind of hit a good chunk of them. Yeah. In my one of them was to work on a Marvel film. Yeah. So there's that. Another one was to work with Hiroyuki Sanada. I did that on Shogun. Yeah. And he knows me by name. It's great. And got Emmy nominated for that. Yeah. That was nuts. And he actually messaged me recently saying, congrats, thank you for your work on Shogun. And I was like, that's awesome. Thanks for having me, Yeah. Airbender was a huge one for me. Yeah. Michael Jai White was a big one for me growing up, I think. So if you asked me this a couple of years ago, I'd been like, yeah, I'd love to work with like Jackie. I'd love to work with Jet Li. I'd love to work with Tony Jaa and all that stuff. But I think being in the industry now, there's a saying where it's don't meet your heroes.
Oh, really? Why? Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe just the way that you look at them differently after you work with them.
I see.
I'd love to work with Jackie, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'd love to work with these big stunt coordinators, don't get me wrong. But I think I'm at that point now in my career where if it's meant to be, it will happen. Would I love, if I have to give you an answer, it'd probably be Guy Ritchie. But Guy Ritchie as a fight coordinator, not as a stunt performer, because then I could really see what goes on in his head. Yeah. I don't know. I think it'll happen eventually. I really want to work on a Gundam. I love Gundam. I'd love to work on a Gundam film, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I had the opportunity for One Piece, and I love One Piece. My wife and I love One Piece, but I feel like if I did that, it would take the magic away from the show. I see. There's a lot of things now where I can't watch too much action because I criticize it so heavy unknowingly. I'd be like, I'll look at a cut. I'm like, why did they cut there? Oh, they probably ran out of time. Yeah. Or that hit didn't read. Oh, okay. Or like that lighting's weird. That didn't match. Oh, and my wife would be like, shut up. So yeah, okay. It's hard to turn off. So I think watching shows that I didn't work on and watching my friends work on, I'm like, okay, no, I like that because then I can turn off my brain and see things like that. It's a big reason why I like rom-coms. Yeah. I can turn off my brain. I'm not expecting action,
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, and I'm going to touch just, having your family being very supportive of your career choice there. Kind of, can you talk to me about the role that they played? They didn't want, the typical Asian mother, be, doctor, engineer. Yeah,
I will say in my family, it wasn't my mother and it wasn't my dad, but, I'm not, some a good chunk of me, actually, this is actually quite new information to me, but I'm not full Filipino. So a good chunk of my dad, he's like 3/4 Chinese, I think, but he grew up Filipino. Mm-hmm. My mom, her mom's from modern day Taiwan, but before it was Formosa, and it was just a bunch of different stuff, but they grew up Filipino. Thing is though, is that my dad, it's a very matriarchal society. And I think you know this from being Filipino as well, right? Yeah. But my ninang, my auntie, the one that ran Karalagan, really influenced the decisions that my dad made for me, and my grandma influenced the decisions my mom made for me.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't my parents, it was everyone around my parents. So my parents did a really good job of kind of like supporting me and shielding me. But growing up, there was a lot of pressure on me because I'm the eldest son to do, doctor, lawyer, engineer. And it just, this hits different because my parents supported me, even though they tried to like phase out the words that were coming to them. Yeah. They're like, oh, are you sure you should be supporting him to do this? Are you sure you should be supporting him to do that? And my parents were super cool about it. And I love that. But because we are a matriarchal society, and because I wouldn't say they had to answer to my ninang and my lola, but there's a lot of times where people will go to my ninang and be like, why is Martin still dancing? He's like 19 years old. He's wasting his life. He's doing this, all that stuff. Or why is he pursuing this? That's not viable as a career option. And then my Nina would talk to my dad, and but my dad would be like, no, let him do what he wants to do. So I love that. I love how they support me, and I really appreciate how they supported me in that. But I actually think that played a huge role in my career in being petty.
Petty?
Yeah. So we'll have, and I don't know if you know about this, but Filipinos, like to talk, right?
Chismis?
Chismis, yeah. What's that called? Marites. Marites and all that stuff. But a big part of it was there's always people in the community that'll be like, what are you doing with your life? Why are you pursuing this? There's no money in it. Yeah. And you're embarrassment to your family because, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I took that and I was like, what do you mean an embarrassment? Like, they're like, so you'll never succeed in a career in the arts because you're not artista, you're not all of this. And I'm like, okay, well, watch me. And I did that. And it's crazy because like Karalagan actually had like a 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago. And I got recognized for like best performing arts, best leader. And I looked at it and I was like, and people are coming up to me like, oh yeah, I've always believed in you. I've always done that. And I looked at my dad. My dad was like, F these guys. Yeah. Like they only believe in you now because you're successful. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know. So my dad and I bonded over that. My mom and I bonded over that. And the one thing that's cool for me too is that even though I have like a degree in marketing and all that stuff, I went to school still, but nowadays especially with the recent success that I've had, I've been able to tell my mom and show my mom and have her brag about me. Yeah. And I know like it's toxic Filipino traits where you're bragging about your kids and comparing kids, but people would always, I saw it with my mom's, close family and all that stuff. They'd always be bragging, oh, my son's he's a doctor, he's an engineer, he got this scholarship, my daughter's doing that. And my mom was always like, oh yeah, my son's like, playing make-believe for a living. But recently, so this last year in January, I got nominated for a SAG-AFTRA award. Mm-hmm. We ended up winning. Wow. So I told them we got their certificate and everything. I gave that to my mom. I was like, hang that up. Yeah. Post about it on Facebook to your friends. And then Shogun came out. Yeah. And rave reviews for Shogun. I was like, post about it to your friends. Yeah. Airbender came out. Post about it to your friends. Yeah. Deadpool came out. Post about it to your friends. And then I got I got nominated for an Emmy for best stunt performance. Yeah. I talked to my mom. I was like, how many of your friends' kids gets nominated for an Emmy for something that they do? Yeah. I can guarantee you none of them post about that. So I think my mom's been enjoying that recently too.
That's all good.
I was like, you can indulge in the little like the back and forth now. So it's fun. I just No, so right on. That's my mom and my dad are super cool about it, and my sister actually. Yeah, me and my one sister, but yeah, they're super cool about it.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've kind of had, you've kind of built a fan base, and you probably have some groupies now, and kind of, hey Martin.
Yeah, her especially my mom's friends now.
Yeah. So that's hilarious.
Yeah, there's actually one lady from she was in the Philippines. She's from Dubai, and she was like, you should open up your messages and your friend requests, and you're like, we want autographs and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm good. You can ask my mom, but I'm good. Yeah.
So that's hilarious. All right, Martin, the stunt industry has been heavily criticized for sometimes putting performers in danger. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you approach safety in your work?
Safety is number one. So a good stunt coordinator a lot of times is a buzzkill to directors. So, and when I've coordinated even some of the smaller indie projects, I'll have directors like, oh, I want this done. I want someone falling off the stairs right now.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I say, no, we don't have the budget for it. They're like, what do you mean? You guys are stunt performers. You should just do it. I'm like, yeah, with the money and the rehearsal time, you guys don't have the money or the rehearsal time. And I know this because I did the budget.
Yeah.
Your producers gave me the budget to work with, and we're not throwing anyone downstairs. Or it's like, oh, we have to do a car hit. I'm like, great. This is how much it costs.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's cost too much. Why can't you just do it? You're stunt performers. I'm like, because we have a union, we have rules, and we have our dignity.
Yeah.
We don't, like, you think a car hits like just like that? No, it's not. It's, you have to rehearse it. You have to have the proper safety precautions behind it.
Have you ever been involved like in a major accident on set?
I would say I've never been involved in like a major accident like that. And I attest that actually now to modern stunt performers. So a lot of, I would like to say in the last like 10 or 10, 15 years here, there's been a change of the old guard with the new stunt performers. The new stunt performers are different. We come into knowing concussion protocol. We know when we hear every concussion protocol, we're more comfortable saying no because of union bias. And that all comes from the people that came before us.
Yeah.
That have made the union, that have made groups like Stunts Canada, CSA Stunts, Stunts Limited, so on and so forth. Those groups have really made it so that they'll take all the best stunt performers, put them to one, and then we'll say no to projects that they think is unsafe.
Yeah.
Or they'll go into the projects and make them safe. So that's kind of what we as a stunt garage are doing here in Edmonton, is that anything that's stunt related, come to us, because then we can tell you how to shoot it safely. But at the same time, we have enough experience to know how to shoot it efficiently.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can make it safely, efficiently, and we'll give you the best performance. So that's a third.
Yeah.
Safely and efficiently. Safely is number one. So that's what I would say to indie filmmakers. Just ask.
Do you know people who have kind of witnessed and been involved in those things, and how did it affect them mentally?
Yeah. That Deadpool scenario is some of my mentors and some of like the people that I look up to. Yeah. Some of them just can't take it. Some of them just left the industry. But others are like, and the ones that stuck around are, we need to be in the industry so this never happens again. Because no matter what, stunts is going to be in film, and it's going to be here until film dies. So we got to be around to spread this knowledge and to use this as a launch point. It's an expensive lesson.
Yeah.
So that we don't ever have something like this again. So a lot of them are still coordinating nowadays.
Gotcha.
And kind of spreading that knowledge to us, which makes it better for the next generation, the next generation after. So,
yeah. And I think that's a good thing, is like, just so, they always say history repeats itself, but if you don't, tell the story of the history, right? And the message kind of gets lost down the way. I think it's, it's pretty tough, because then it'll just repeat itself again. So keeping up with that message, the learning lessons, and just communicating that out to people in the industry or just in your craft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's just like everything, like there's some things that a lot of people wouldn't consider as a stunt. Yeah. Until someone gets hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's true.
And it's something even so as small as like running. A lot of times the stunt doubles will be the ones running. Yeah. But it's because, like, why would you get your actor to run when you're shooting them from behind? Should be the double. And now you have two units going side by side. You can have the actor doing the dialogue for the first unit. Yeah. And then you can do like the outside establishing shots with them running from the second unit. Yeah. There's no reason to make your actor run. Yeah.
That just makes sense.
Right? Yeah. From a production standpoint, that makes a lot of sense.
100%.
So
what are your thoughts on the representation of stunt performers in the industry? And do you think they get the recognition that they deserve?
Ooh, like Oscars? Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, okay, for number one, Emmys. I am the fourth year of being recognized for best stunt performance. So we're getting there in terms of stunt performance. I mean, Fall Guy kind of did some representation, and I think everybody now with social media, stunt people are getting more recognized. Yeah. At the same time, like, I don't know if I want us to be recognized that way. We have our own awards, we have all that stuff, and we're quite literally like unseen, unheard
Yeah.
And like when you think about it, but it's nice that a lot of the actors nowadays like are recognizing stunt performers, like Keanu, Tom Cruise, all that stuff. So I mean, is it bad to say that I don't really care? I mean, honestly, like I just want to do a good job. Being recognized is cool, even with the Emmy nomination. I'm not as excited for that as much as other people are.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to go to LA and go to Disneyland and Universal Studios. So like, yeah,
It's all good, man.
yeah. So I mean, like representation. And this is speaking for myself. I can't speak for the rest of the community. To me, I don't really care.
Gotcha.
As long as we get the work and we get everything done safely, like I'm happy.
Gotcha.
So,
This one here is in regards to diversity. What are your thoughts on, the film industry and their strides at increasing diversity in the industry? And, whether it's behind the scenes, behind the camera, what's your perspective on diversity, and especially in the stunt industry? What do you think that's going, and where do you think it is right now?
So, and this is me coming from Western Canada and Western United States specifically. I actually think our diversity quota is, it's pretty good, especially Western Canada. Like I think it's well on its way, and there's still some stories and voices to be heard. Absolutely. It's gonna be a long road to get to like the place that we want to go to. In terms of stunts, I think I touched on it earlier, but how do you balance diversity with skill set?
Yeah.
And because you need that with safety.
Yeah.
All that means is getting people of different communities to be able to train properly. I think that's all it is. So I think having that investment to be able to do stuff like that. Not every city's gonna have a stunt garage.
Yeah.
And not everyone's gonna have a place that just as affordable as we are. This might sound like an ad, but it's not. But we have wire training once a month at our space, and wires, like the harnesses that you need to fly and everything, those are about $1,500 a pop. Our wire system's about 10 grand. We charge people $20 for 4 hours just to drop in and to teach them.
Oh, wow.
Most places, like you go to Cascades University out in France, you go to International Stunt School in Seattle, they're charging about $2,500 per person just to do wires. We just tell people, well, go learn, because we need more people. So that's
pretty crazy, man. And such a big price difference. And so definitely, the price point that you're at would invite a lot more people to at least explore or try it out.
But I think the reason why, and I go back to the earlier conversation, is that we're pretty inconsistent with it because we're always working.
Oh, yeah.
So people are like, I want to come and do this, but yeah, come this week. And then with the way film works, it's like, hey, you available next week?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, hey, by the way, we're not going to be there. So it kind of turns people off, and I get that. I understand that completely. But that's just the way that our gym's running right now.
Yeah, it's all good.
But in terms of diversity, I guess Western Canada, it's getting better.
Yeah.
I would say it's getting better. In terms of stunts, I was actually fortunate enough to actually double for Filipinos on Easter Sunday with Joe Coy.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, oh, this is cool. I won't lie to you. It was actually pretty cool to double a Filipino, to be on a Filipino set.
Yeah.
I have a friend, his name is Alex Malari Jr. out in Toronto. He's actually doing a CW Hallmark movie based about Filipinos.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah. And I was texting him. I was like, really? About Filipinos? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, and then, I guess, skill sets. I think the cool thing that I like, and one thing that the team and I really do like, is competition.
Yeah.
We're never going to gatekeep information from people, because we're going to try to make you better so you can beat us at what we do, because the better the opponent gets, the better we get.
Yeah.
It's very much like a Goku mindset.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's actually kind of how we do things, because at the end of the day, we just want to be good at what we do.
Yeah.
But we can't get good if we're the best people in the room.
Yeah.
So we have to make everybody else better, or bring in better people so that we can compete with them.
For sure.
So,
have you faced any challenges or discrimination in over the years?
No.
No,
I would say no. I would say no. I think no, definitely not. At least in stunts, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are points where like I've doubled so many different races now too, but it's because again, it goes back to skill set and diversity.
Yeah.
Like you can't just pick up someone like brand new for like a high fall, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say I've really experienced it, especially in Alberta. Like even like all the cowboys down south and stuff. Like no one's super racist. No one's super discriminatory. I would say like it's the most you'll get is like political differences.
Yeah.
It's like liberal, conservative. I mean, that's the most. I mean, that's just politics. But no, I haven't really experienced that myself. At least at the higher level. At the higher level in the industry, I haven't. And maybe I'm not high enough to see it, but at least the level I'm at right now, no.
Yeah, it's weird because I hear stories from like actors and actresses, right? And, you know, they kind of fit the requirements, but, you know, again, I don't know. I just, you know, I'm not too involved in the industry like that. But I don't know.
So I will say that like when actors and actresses go, it's typically as a production is that they'll find the cast first, and then the doubles get picked. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how or like they'll be fighting. The cast will be fighting we call it ND performers, nondescript. Yeah. Nondescript, literally just nondescript. You're thug number one. Yeah. Great. Here's ND, right? So I would say on the actress side, they might get more discriminatory. Just because they're like, oh, we need this. But on the stunt side, I haven't really experienced it.
Just sitting down with you today and listening to you, like you have so much experience. You've experienced so much. It sounds like, right? And you've traveled. You've done a ton of traveling. Yeah. And you've met a ton of people, whether they were supportive or not supportive. But you know, you were just exposed to all types and different levels of individuals. I just find that so amazing that you can, you know, get to experience that and just share that story. Because a lot of people kind of wish, well, you know, they're kind of chasing that dream as well too, right? I mean, so what advice would you give somebody? You know, doesn't have to be related to this, like the stunt industry, but just in regards to like film or just life, like stuff you've learned.
Do what you love. That's meat and bones of it is do what you love. For me, I really love traveling. I really like meeting different people. Small tidbit about me is I'm actually going back to school for a degree, double majoring in anthropology and sociology, just because I want to. Wow. Just because I'm more curious, because after these talks, I really want to understand more from a bigger perspective of how things have really moved around and to understand myself a little bit more. Yeah. I love that stuff, so I'm going to do what I love. I know there's like people have different things like kids and work and all that stuff, but if you want to, you'll make it happen. Yeah. There's always ways to make it happen, especially with today's technology day and age. You'll make it happen. Don't let people's opinions stop you from doing things that aren't hurting other people. Yeah. You know, so.
Are you able to talk to us about your upcoming projects, what you're involved in right now and what's up, you know, coming forward?
Yeah, it's, so it's redacted and redacted.
No, fair enough.
So there's actually a movie that I worked on called Hostile Takeover with Michael Jai White. That should be coming out March 2025, around there. Yeah. I actually worked on a movie called The Thicket. I was a fight coordinator on it, and it's with Peter Dinklage and Juliette Lewis. Wow. That's coming out September 5th. Winona Earp Vengeance is coming out soon. I believe that's winter of this year. Yeah. And then we have some small projects here and there that I'm like super excited about. Hopefully I'm back on some of the next seasons of the projects I've worked on previously. So that's like, you know, Shogun, Airbender, Last of Us, you know, here and there, there'll be some stuff there, but, yeah. And I don't know where it's going to take me now. I'm kind of wherever, like, I've said yes to some projects that I can't talk about until, you know, they're out. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. I'm trying to mental gymnastics my way around my NDAs, but yeah, that'll be fun. No,
fair enough. I totally get it. But again, thanks, Martin, for joining us today on Frame by Frame. Very much appreciated, and you know, thank you for your insights and just stories. Very, very informative. If people wanted to, check out your work, where can they find you?
You can check us out on my Instagram, so at e.martincochingco. You can also see our YouTube, which is just my name, I believe, and then our gym. Follow our gym at the Stunt Garage. I won't lie, I've been pretty inactive on social media for the last little bit because I've been working so much. First world problems. But like, it's more than like, it's been pretty dead. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
But just keep your eye out on that. It's easier for me to post on my story there to kind of see what we're doing. Just keep an eye out for the IMDb too, I guess. Like that gets updated.
Yeah.
Every now and again. You know what? Just follow the Stunt Garage.
Follow the Stunt Garage, guys. Follow the Stunt Garage.
Yeah, or come visit. I think it's more than just a follow. If you're ever in town, just come visit. We're nice people.
Awesome.
Not all of us bite. Some of us do. So.
Right on. Well, guys, that is today's episode of Frame by Frame, Voices of Cinema. Join us again next time.